And top of the day, I'm Esther Davis, and I want to welcome you to the Esther Davis Show. Hey, by the way, Happy New Year. What are you doing for the new year? We've gotten a lot of responses the last couple of weeks about my New Year's resolution, what I'm going to do differently about 2023. But today, we're going to start off the entire month, whatever, the entire year, with one of Dallas's, the state of Texas, icons. And we call her an icon of significance because, we use that word very loosely these days. It doesn't mean a whole lot. But my guest is the famous, the effervescent, the absolutely wonderful Miss Betty Culbreath. Hey! Woo! I can't tell you how happy I am to have you over here.
Well, thank you for that.
I mean, we have put out Spider and I have put out notices so that people will not miss this show. Because if you do, we're going to continue to play it for you anyway. But so many people want to be. How you doing?
I'm good.
You have on red today. You ready for the February, March, April, and May?
I'm ready for all of it.
Ready?
Yeah, and we celebrated Founders Day with Delta, so I'm sort of in that spirit. Yeah, still in that spirit. So,
if I ever want to know anybody, your name comes up so often, that has done so much in this city, that transcended across the state of Texas and beyond. And I want to ask you, first of all, what is, out of all the things you've done, and this is a 50-minute show, so we're going to cover a lot in this 50-minute period. But out of all the things you've done, let's start here. What is most important to you? And then I'll tell you what's important to me. Betty Culbreath.
Well, professionally, taking over and being the first woman and non-physician to lead the Dallas County Health Department professionally. That
Okay.
was my major accomplishment, because the state legislatures had changed the rule sometime prior to my becoming director, that the commissioner's court could hire a non-physician to lead the health department as long as that particular director hired doctors to perform all of the medical and necessities.
Wow.
So that was my major accomplishment career-wise, because I'd done a lot of everything. And I was director of Dallas County's welfare division. And when that commissioner's court saw fit, Lee Jackson, in fact, saw fit to combine the department after Dr. Ferris went over to the feds, I was just honored that they chose me to lead that combined department. So growing that department, combining those departments, and then leading that department to a first-rate health and human service department in this state. And we were recognized state and national for our operations. So that was my greatest one professionally.
Yeah, but let's see. Now it's my turn. You were the first African-American female chair of DFW board.
Absolutely.
DFW, as we well know, and here is what you're looking at right now, is the Dallas City Plan Commission, Duncanville Plan Commission, Dallas County Hospital District Board, Dallas Fort Worth International Airport. And that was one of the top 3 airports in the United States. Dallas Housing Authority. Now, I can remember bits and pieces of all of this, but my favorite duty of the icon, this is our icon of significance, is the DFW board. Black female, 3rd largest airport in the country, Betty Culbreath.
It was, and I have to give, because see, Dallas had never had a female. Fort Worth had, but Dallas had never. And Dallas had 7 slots on that board. Fort Worth only had 4, but Dallas had never had a female, period, let alone a black one. They never had a person of color to chair the board. It had always been white men from Dallas who chair that board, because the chair is chosen. Dallas serves 2 years. Okay. Fort Worth serves 1 year as the chair. And the nomination committee consists of the 2 mayors and the outgoing chair of the board. Those are the people who choose the incoming chair. And I have to give credit to Mayor Kirk, because Mayor Kirk stepped out of his lane and nominated me.
Ron Kirk is our first black mayor in Dallas, Texas. Now, Dallas is the ninth largest city in the United States. But when Betty, we're talking about big time history here. We're talking about history where a Black female on the DFW board of the third largest airport in the United States. That was big news to us because we've always had American Airlines was
Right.
based here.
Right.
So American Airlines has a fleet of about 3,000 or 4,000 planes. I've done a little bit of homework. And you were director. What was the greatest thing you did while you were there, Betty?
I think it's kind of hard for me to talk about what I
Well,
did.
no, it's
I'm
not hard for me
sorry,
to
but
talk. Okay,
I
I can
try.
talk about it.
I try. Well, when I got there, when I got there, and I looked as a board member, when I got there, and I looked out in the audience of the staff.
Yeah.
Number one, I saw no people of color. We had one person of color. We had two. The
Okay.
whole administration. Well, no, we had three. We had Mr. Stearns and his Black secretary. Then we
Okay.
had Vernon Evans, who was the auditor.
And that was it. Give us a
That's
sense.
all.
Give us a
All
sense
black.
of
On,
how many staff members are in this meeting. Your average meeting had how many people?
well, we had probably maybe 20.
Okay.
Top level staff people
Right.
that would attend those meetings.
Okay.
Of course, Mr. Evans worked for the board. He was hired. The auditor is hired by the board. So
Right.
the executive director was hired by the board. Well, not only did that get me, with only 3 Black people in. I'm looking at the sea of professionals there every board meeting, and I see just these people. Then I said, it's kind of something wrong with
There's
this.
something wrong with this picture.
This picture,
Yeah.
plus all 3 of those people from Fort Worth.
Ah.
So I said, Alex is not represented in any of this because we had 7 positions on the board.
Mhm.
How could 4 people have more power than 7 people? But it goes to show it's all about where your mind is,
Mhm.
what your mindset is.
Right.
My mindset, and I think that that's one of the advantages of being an active employee someplace else. So what I brought from the county in
Mhm.
my executive position to that board was a sense of right and wrong in terms of employees and employment. And I brought all that, where these other people had traditionally been just business people.
They were just figureheads.
Figureheads
So
and
now
business
you're
people.
now you're over on the board. Ron Kirk did not give you any instructions.
No.
But he had you just said a little while ago, he stepped outside of his lane. How did
He
do it?
did. And he knew he's a very smart man.
Mhm.
He knew what I would bring
He
to the
knew
board.
what you were going to bring
He
to the
knew what I was
table.
going to bring
Okay.
to the board.
Right.
And me, when I went to the meeting that day, I knew I didn't go there thinking I was going to be the nominee. I went there thinking that if they do the right thing, I will be the nominee. See, I didn't go there with that. And it just so happened that Mayor Kirk had another engagement, so he couldn't come to the meeting. But in his wisdom, he had sent a letter to the mayor of Fort Worth and to the chair of the board.
Okay.
And it was interesting how it happened because someone else from Dallas had nominated Jan Coleman, who I have the utmost respect for, and he's deceased now. And the chair from Fort Worth said, well, since Mayor Kirk is not here, I have a letter from him.
And he read the letter.
He read the letter. And Mayor Kirk said, I nominate Betty Culbreath. And it was so interesting because Mr. Coleman, who had been nominated from the floor, he said, I withdraw my name.
Whoa.
Yes, I withdraw my name from nomination. I had the utmost respect for Ms. Culbreath, and I support this nominee wholeheartedly.
Well, I think he probably didn't want to be embarrassed by the vote either.
Well, no, he did, but he was just a good human being.
Yeah.
Good human being. Yeah.
My guest is Betty Culbreath. We're talking about her distinguished career over the last 40 or 50 years in the city of Dallas. She is our icon of significance. We're making her talk about herself because there's so many things we get confused. And again, her name is Betty Culbreath, DFW board president. What year are we talking about, Betty?
Oh, it was in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Yeah. It's a shame I don't remember. I should remember that year.
Yeah, you should. I tell you who will remember it is Diane
Yeah,
Waters.
she will.
Diane Waters, because in the we all know what a massive business the airports are around our country, around our globe, and just to have a black female there directing, and people knew who you were.
Yeah.
People were all over. Betty Colbert is the president of the board. Now you've got more people wanting to come out there to see
Everybody
you.
was so excited.
Of course, Betty, because I
This
remember,
is my
I
phone.
remember. Oh, that's Betty's phone ringing, and we're gonna let it ring because I need to get
Yeah.
through this
Put it in the
show.
bathroom.
So we'll let it stay where it is. Okay, but the DFW board, you had a few minorities that had concessions there at the time.
Three.
Three, three,
Three.
three people. Who were they? I know
Three.
Was Jethro Pugh one of them?
Three. Jethro Pugh,
Okay,
Diane Waters,
Diane Waters.
and Marvin Robinson.
That's right. Oh my goodness. Marvin Robinson. And they stayed out there. To get a concession stand at the airport is huge. It's a lot
And
of
they were
this and
all they were all joint venture partners with a Anglo firm. They were
Okay.
not freestanding at that time.
That's a very important point.
They were all
I did
joint
not-
venture partners. Yeah, they
So
were
they were
not.
part of something
Yeah,
else.
Jethro was part of Paradise. Diane Waters was part of Duty Free,
She sure was.
and Marvin was part of was the Alpha Link of
But he was a joint part.
but he was
a joint
another,
partner.
yeah.
And Marvin stayed until almost close to his death, didn't he?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, we're making Betty Colbert talk about herself. After the DFW board, you were there what, 2 or 3 years?
Oh, I served 11 years. I served
Whoa,
8 straight
years.
years, and then I went off because it's an 8-year max.
Yeah.
So I went off and stayed off a year, and then I went back,
Okay.
I went back.
That's Betty's phone again that's ringing, but we're gonna let it ring until I take a break.
But-
I'll take a break in just
But
a little
nobody
while.
ever called me, so
Well, I think we're live. So you could be getting a lot of calls. So, okay, let's talk about the Dallas County Hospital District Board, because that you mentioned that a little while the other day. We're gonna let Betty talk to her phone. This is a real comfortable show. So she's gonna answer her phone, and we'll continue to talk about her.
because that's you kind of anyway. Okay, let me. Okay, I'm just gonna put this on silent.
All right.
Cut this out.
All right. And if you go on Facebook, you won't have any trouble finding Betty Colbert. Some of the comments she has made will enlighten you on the history, the real history of the city, because she's very, very honest, very, very frank about it, and is not bashful at all. I have to say that. But we're going to continue to talk about what else she's done in the city. And you know what's important about these appointments? The most important thing is, where do you make a difference? Do you make a difference while you're there, or do you just occupy a seat while you're there? That's the most important thing. Betty is probably the most honest consultant you'll ever meet. So if you want to have something, I will volunteer her for you. You can just go into Facebook. I can. This is my show, Betty. I can say whatever. She'll talk to you, and you'll make and she'll make a comment about it. Now we also we go into Facebook. We want to talk about where you were born.
Oh.
And I love the fact that you're from this other great family in the city of Dallas, a very renowned family. So you grew up with a lot of amenities. Is that putting it mildly? Because, you know, most people think all black folks grew up in a ghetto with water, with leaky roofs, and with 8 people in a bed, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But you grew up with means. I can say that.
Well, and that's one of the things today that bother me, because everybody wants to portray us all as being poor and not having enough to eat and barefooted and walking in the mud, and that is just not the case.
Not true.
I was born at Parkland Hospital on Maple Avenue, and during that time, of course, during segregated times, my mother was down in the basement where with the people having surgery and everything else. There was no maternity ward. Now there, black people were, regardless of what your condition was, you were in the basement. If you go over there now, you can look through little peepholes and see the basement where patients used to be. Even when kids would come to visit, you look down through there, and that's how you would visit your loved ones. You look down
through this hole, this port.
They were really vents.
Okay,
they were vents.
Yeah.
that vented the basement out. The basement had vents where the air could come out of the basement. But if you were outside of the vent, you could look down and talk to your loved one. Yeah, but that's the way it was back then. A county supported hospital. We couldn't, but anyway. But I was born in Parkland Hospital, and
but your family was very progressive. They were entrepreneurs.
Oh, absolutely.
They made money.
Yeah, they did.
And you had your own bedroom. I have to always say that because white people want to paint us in 6 people in a bed.
Yeah, I always had my own bedroom, and only thing we didn't when my father we grew up in Short North Dallas. Well, it was Short North Dallas to us, but it was actually McKinney Avenue right down from Martinburg Lane. It was Booker T Edition.
Okay, Booker T Edition.
Yeah, well, it was a black edition. Right off of Martinburg Lane.
Booker T Edition.
If you going north on Central Expressway, if you take the Monticello exit and you cross over, everything that was north of Monticello was a black neighborhood.
Whoa!
Called Booker T Edition.
There
were free black people owned their own homes and owned everything over there. My Aunt Janie owned land there. My grandfather, George McGowan Sr., ran the store there.
Wow.
Out on what is now the Central Expressway Service Road was McKinney Avenue, the real McKinney Avenue. Okay. That the service road now was McKinney Avenue. Black people lived all there, all the way up to Martinburg Lane, well, all the way up to the railroad track. The railroad track is what separated us from Highland Park. And most of the people, all the people there were professional people, and all those people who were not professionals worked in Highland Park. And my mother was the pastry cook for the Crows. She was a pastry cook.
That was another wealthy family, white family.
Right. And
Trumbull Crow's family.
Right. The Trumbull Crow family. My mother was a pastry cook, and my father worked for Pettigo Automotive because he had been a mechanic in the Army. And so while Uncle Alto was in the funeral business, my father said, well, I'm not going to work with the dead people. He wanted to work with the cars and the live people. So Uncle Alto went ahead and pursued the funeral business, and my father pursued the mechanic business. But we lived over there, and I guess I didn't realize.
Right about we're getting an eyewitness accounting of a black woman born in Dallas, Texas, to a renowned family. So she keeps calling Uncle Alto, but
it's Alto McGowan.
McGowan, and half of the world is going to remember the McGowan funeral home.
Right.
And you bought the old Zale home building
and renovated it. Right.
And renovated it.
Bought it from the Zales family.
That's right.
When they moved, that's when the Jewish migration went north. See, Jews were the original people in South Dallas. That's when I don't understand why black people want ownership to South Dallas. Y'all didn't own South Dallas. The Jews owned South Dallas. Black people owned North Dallas. Black people owned North Dallas.
I remember Mabel Chandler, though.
Yeah.
Well, that was my Sunday school teacher. Now, she taught Sunday school at my church, but she also taught history at church and at school. And she told us that.
Exactly.
You're getting a lot of history from Betty Colbert.
And we bought that building from the Zayas family.
Right.
And Mr. Presswood financed it.
Mr. Presswood. Tell us who Mr. Presswood is.
Black man who had millions of dollars, who was in the lending business. Dr. Presswood's dad.
Dr. Presswood's dad.
Mm-hmm. This man was a multimillionaire, and he was the black bank. That's where black people in business and black people who wanted to do anything, they went to Mr. Presswood to borrow money. Mr. Presswood financed that building.
Where did Mr. Presswood get his money?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I just know we had plenty.
I asked the damnest questions.
But I don't really know.
Somebody told me to ask you about Mr. Asbury.
Well, see, back in the day.
See,
what people don't understand. What back in the day,
okay,
when black people were very independent and did all that they do, black people made money by any means necessary. Yes, but they didn't sell no dope. They did, they were very enterprising.
That's for sure.
They really were. Because I remember when my Uncle Alto, before he bought the funeral home, he had a liquor store on Hall Street called Blue Moon Liquor. He was in the liquor business.
Okay.
But he won the liquor store from a white man in a crap game because he was a good gambler. So he wasn't looking to be in the liquor business, but he won the liquor store
Yeah.
in the crap game.
Yeah.
People were honorable back then, and you know.
So you just start maybe thinking about something very funny. So the crap games and gambling was integrated.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Crap games was integrated.
And Asbury, let's go back to Mr. Asbury because that name comes up a lot.
Mr. Asbury was another one that had plenty of money.
And where did he get?
He was kind of in promotion and entertainment type business.
Oh, he was in the club business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I've heard a lot about Asbury lending money.
Yeah, he lent money. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Well, okay. Now I'm going because Betty. We announced 3 days ago that Betty was coming on the show, and then people have heard the name. They've heard the name before, but then they had to make the connection with Culbreath and McGowan. I said, well, she probably got married. So how did the Culbreath name come up?
Well, first I got married to Mr. White. Maxie White was my first husband.
How many husbands have you had?
Well, I had quite a few. and they were all good husbands.
They were all good.
There's something wrong with me.
Okay, I told you this was an honest.
See, I was married to Mr. White, and we started White's Transportation. We were the first.
Okay.
We were the first licensed transportation company in the city of Dallas.
What?
Yeah, because there was an ordinance because Dallas Transit owed money to the government, so they wouldn't allow anybody to run a private transportation company. So you know me, when we started White's Transportation, my husband and I, we started White's Transportation. The whole intent was to transport Black women from the southern sector to TI.
Because we did not have transportation.
Because there was no transportation.
Okay.
So we started White's Transportation to do that. Well, when the city, what's the lady's name? Worked for the Dallas Morning News, wrote
Norma Adams Way. Was it Norma or the other one?
Weaves,
okay.
Oh,
you're talking about Julia.
Julia
Scott
wrote a beautiful article about White's Transportation.
Julia Scott Reed. Oh,
Julia Scott Reed wrote a beautiful article about what we doing. Mm-hmm. The city of Dallas, somebody read the article and immediately issued us a cease and desist order to stop transporting because we could not legally do that because of their bond covenant. Anyway, make a long story short, we fought that battle and we won with the help of George Allen, who was on the city council at the time. But that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story.
Okay, we go back to the.
I'm gonna have you make a commitment to us right here now at TG, and you're gonna come back because I can't get all of this stuff.
Because after I stopped this stuff. And when people hear Betty White, they'll know because I fought and did so much as Betty White, and it was all pretty much publicized at the time. But anyway, then I Virgil Luther recruited me to go to Nacogdoches, Texas, and integrate East Texas. And so then I went down there, and that's when I met Mr. Culbreath.
Oh, this is the second. Wait, we're on husband number 2, right?
Yeah, Mr. Culbreath. Virgil Luther was with the Dallas Urban League.
He sure was.
You remember him?
Big guy.
Yeah, he recruited me.
Roosevelt, somebody.
That's right. He recruited me to go to Nacogdoches, Texas.
What were you going to do in Nacogdoches?
It was a foundation to integrate the schools.
Okay.
And it was funded by the Ester program. Which back there, the federal government was giving small jurisdictions money to integrate the public school system. Really? So I went there as the director to integrate Nacogdoches Independent School District. That was my purpose. Did I do it? Yes.
I hope we got a historian out there. We've got the best historian here, but we need to jot down all.
So that's where Mr.
Mr. Culbreath.
Yes, I married Mr. Culbreath while I was there. When I came back home, I came back Betty Culbreath.
All right.
I left Betty White and I came back Betty Culbreath.
Did Virgil Luther take credit for all of this, or he ignored?
Oh, he was just proud of me of what I accomplished. Because I stayed in Nacogdoches 9 years.
Really?
Yeah, I integrated all of these Texas.
Accomplished whatever you.
I did that, and then when I got that done, I went to work for the Deep East Texas Council of Government, and then I integrated all the little small police departments and everything around in East Texas.
Do you think the civil rights movement has given adequate coverage to women that made things happen?
No.
And I've interviewed a lot of civil rights leaders over the years, mostly male, and they will.
So they know this too.
They didn't. Well, yeah, because they had good females working for them. Mm-hmm. But women like you, when I hear you talk about what you've done, and you moved around so freely, and you've always spoken from your
And I
absolute
was never
mind.
afraid. And my dad, from my dad passed, he said, I just don't understand. You're not afraid of anything? I said, nope. I said, you taught me.
And you saw him operate.
I saw him operate, and you taught me not to be afraid of anything. And one thing, another thing that he taught me, see, my daddy believed in predestination. And he taught us that.
What do you mean?
My father believed that you don't go until your time comes.
Oh, okay.
And if you go, it's your time. And don't nobody call your number but the Lord.
Amen.
I grew up with
Amen.
that in me. And so it helped me not be afraid of anything, because I knew if something happened to me, it was just my time. That might be ignorant, but it's the way I was raised.
But the point is, you weren't afraid of anything.
No,
You never had
no,
that
I wasn't.
downtrodden spirit.
No.
You never said.
Sometimes I wish I had, but I didn't. I
Well,
didn't.
we're glad you did.
Yeah, I just
But
couldn't.
those McGowan boys had something. How many of
Oh,
them
yeah,
were
they
there?
did.
They had, because I only knew Mr. Alto.
Alto, Olaska, George, and Sam. It was 4.
Just 4 boys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember McGowan Funeral Home and the work that Georgia McGowan did across all of her entities. Okay, let's go to. I'm trying to keep up with you, Betty.
Okay.
All right. We did the Housing Authority. How did you get connected with the Housing Authority? And what did you do there?
Well, when Mayor Miller was the mayor, she had it was a big kerfuffle going on with some of the board members that were doing some things that were not ethical. And so I was sitting in the planning commission meeting, and she run down there and asked me, would I please go out to Dallas House and go, what?
Dallas House.
Go do what? So she asked me if I would please go. And without any thought, I said, well, if you need me to go, because I did have a housing department under Dallas County. So I was very familiar with it. So I knew that I had the expertise to do it. I'm careful about that. If I don't have the expertise, you can't just send me somewhere and I don't know anything.
Well, I'm not quite sure I believe that. But
but anyway, she asked me. And so that very day, she said, well, submit your resignation to the city secretary. So I had to leave plan commission meeting as the chair, go submit my resignation to the plan commission. And then so she could appoint me to the Dallas Housing Authority.
And she appointed you just like that
day.
That day?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Now you're down to, you mentioned another mayor. Laura Miller was one of the female mayors, the second female mayor we've had in the city of Dallas. Because our shows are extended across oceans here. So I'm just trying to keep it with Betty and connect you to what we're talking about.
Second or third, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And that Strauss was one. And then the other lady was first.
I
remember the name.
They just passed away.
That's exactly right. So we've had female mayors before.
But Laura and Strauss were elected. The other, she was appointed after West Wise stepped down, or whatever. She had been appointed.
Yeah.
And she didn't run for another, but Laura and Ned had been actually, elected.
Did it ever cross your mind to run for office or run for mayor or governor?
Well, only time it crossed my mind to run for office is when I saw that an incumbent was not doing what I felt they supposed to do. So I would just run. I would just run really to say, this is what you need to do. I never thought I was going to really win. I ran twice. I ran 3 times. I ran for school board when I thought Hollis was not, bless his heart, he's sweet as he can be, but he's gone on to glory. Then I ran for city council after Don stepped down.
Don Hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
I ran for city council and I lost. And it ended up in a runoff with Von Seer Hill, but because I had supported Laura Miller for mayor, my people, they hated Laura Miller so bad, they voted against me because I supported Laura Miller.
Okay.
So, but they got Von Seer. And all other time I ran for commissioner in 2012, for county commissioner.
Well, I want your thoughts on Laura Miller's name is still damaged among Black people. Did she do us a disservice, or did she do us a favor?
No, she didn't do Black people a disservice.
I mean, I'm talking about the stadium now.
No, but see that I'm glad you asked that question, so the truth can be told.
Thank you. I knew you would tell me the truth.
First of all, the legislation that was passed allowed for a municipality or a county government to have a stadium authority. Number one.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Number
I have to
one.
let that soak in a minute because I did not know that.
Yes. Number two, the state law prohibit a athletic stadium being built in a state park. Dallas Love Field, Dallas Fair Park is considered a state park because it was built under this bicentennial, and it goes way back.
Mm-hmm.
That Cotton Bowl was fine but you could not tear down the Cotton Bowl and build another stadium. You could not build another stadium in there in the Fair Park. You can't do it. So you couldn't do that. So what Laura Miller did, Laura Miller was trying her best to work with the county, who is the authority.
Okay.
But what happened was Jim Jackson did not want the referendum to be on a November ballot because
that was
he
a county
thought,
commissioner at the time.
yes, who was a Republican.
Okay.
And he thought if the stadium referendum would be on the ballot in November, it would screw the votes. Because all the liberals and the black folks and everybody would come out for the vote.
Okay.
So Laura Miller did not lose the Dallas Cowboys.
You got to say that again because
Laura Miller did not lose the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas County Commissioners Court would not cooperate with Laura Miller because they were afraid that the referendum vote for that stadium was going to bring out all the black folks and all the liberal people, and they were going to lose some votes. So therefore, that's why Jerry Jones, but see, Jerry Jones knew what the legislation said. That's when I don't get people who don't never read nothing. Jerry Jones knew all he had to do was go to another county. The legislation was on the book. All you need to do is go to another commissioner's court, and they can use the same leverage. And that's what he did.
Yeah, he shopped around for a long time.
It wasn't really a long time.
Okay.
He had that ace in the hole out why Dallas City people was talking about, let's go here to the bottom and let's go. Jerry Jones already knew where he was going because he was tired of wavering back and forth. So if you want to blame anybody, you blame Dallas County Commissioners Court,
right?
Who at that time was controlled by the Republicans.
She's Betty Culbreath. You heard the truth. I have answered
I was
question.
there. I worked there.
Yes.
I was there. I was Commissioner Price.
You were on the front line.
I was Commissioner Price's assistant. I knew exactly what was going on. We knew what was going on every day.
So why didn't the news media pick that up? Why didn't the Republican newspapers pick that up and tell the public the real truth? They had to have a scapegoat.
Why would they want to tell the truth?
Oh, wow. We talk about the truth all the time.
Remember, they didn't like Jerry Jones either. See, they still blaming Jerry Jones for firing Tom Landry when he had nothing to do with firing Tom Landry. That's a whole nother subject.
You are absolutely right. That came up.
Bum Bright fired Tom Landry.
And he was the owner at that time?
He was the owner. The Bright Bank.
Right.
The Dallas Cowboys was in bankruptcy. Jerry Jones brought them out of bankruptcy and told Bum Bright and the bankruptcy court, Jimmy Johnson is going to be my coach. The man didn't fire Tom Landry.
Wow. That came up just this past week with the Cowboys going to the playoff. And I said, well, why don't you like the Cowboys? Oh, well, he fired
No,
Tom
he did
Landry.
Not. He did not. No, he did not. Bum Bright fired Tom Landry.
Look up Bum Bright. BUMBRIGH.
And he simply told, and he didn't really fire, he simply told Tom Landry, the new owners are bringing their own coach. Mm-hmm. So nobody was unfair to anybody. But the public is not privy to this. They just want to blame somebody. And that's not the way it happened.
I'm going to take a break. She's Betty Culbreath. She's our icon of significance for the whole state of Texas. This woman has affected so many lives. It is unbelievable. Don't go away. I'll be right back. You're watching Ester Davis. My special guest, my icon of significance, a female, a black female who has done so much in this city. And we want you to know about it. We want you to get it from her and to quell some of the things that have been talked about. She's Betty Culbreath. All right, let's go to something you've been talking about on Facebook.
Okay.
Now I know where we live. This is Elm Thicket, the old and the new. It's Elm Thicket North Park. It is the most expensive piece of real estate, probably in the in the southern states. Would you say that?
Mm-hmm.
1944, the construction of the Elm Thicket Park began on land owned by neighboring Love Field Airport, but it was loaned temporarily to the Dallas Parks Department until needed for the airport expansion. Now, we're talking about the Love Field expansion. So in 1946, the Hector and Frank building companies filed with the city of Dallas the Greenway Terrace additions. The Greenway Terrace additions are oriented in the present northeast area of that particular neighborhood. We want you to know this because I need Betty to give you the rest of the story. The first development was located west of Kenwell Street, north of Hopkins Avenue, and north of Watiga Drive, and east of Roper Street.
But that wasn't for no black people.
That wasn't black people?
No, ma'am.
Okay. That was not black people.
No, ma'am.
Okay, what were they?
White people.
White people. Okay. So that's the first correction we need to make. Where were you in this where was your family home at that time?
Okay.
Betty Colbert, bring it on.
First of all, Elm Thicket is Elm Thicket because of the elm trees that grew and the vegetation was so thick. That's why it's named Elm
Thicket. Okay.
Elm Thicket started, Elm Thicket was on Lemon Avenue back to where the black people live, back to Roper. Across Roper was where the white people lived.
Okay.
University was a dividing line. If you go at Roper, University was a dividing line for the white and the blacks. So University, then down Roper, then up the side there, and Lemon Avenue was the boundary line of the real Elm Thicket. From where Park Place is right now, Park Place Mercedes is right now, all the way back up. If you're at Park Place and you headed toward Love Field, all along there on both sides of Lemon Avenue were black businesses, black people and black businesses. Yes, ma'am. My uncle had a Humphrey's hamburger stand right in the fork where Mockingbird Lane veers off to 4 lanes. Right in that, which is the curbing, was where Humphrey's hamburger stand stood.
So that's all wrong.
Yes, Clark Liquor Store was right there on Lemon Avenue.
Clark Liquor sure was.
Right there on Lemon Avenue.
Lemon and Hall?
Lemon, and right now Lemon and the little street that comes out. Kind of almost about a couple of blocks from Mockingbird.
Okay.
On Lemon, right there. That was Clark's Liquor Store. All of that widening the Mockingbird Lane took in black businesses. Where Mockingbird Lane crosses Lemon, all of that was black business. The Coca-Cola Company had taken, Coca-Cola Company took us out, the Humphreys hamburger stand, all that. The Coca-Cola Company took that out because where the Coca-Cola sign used to stand is where Humphreys hamburger was.
Wow.
So Coca-Cola Company took us out, and Haggard Pants Company took the rest of the black people out. Okay, cross Mockingbird Lane, where is the entrance way to Love Field? All of those were black single-family homes that had been white. But after the war ended and all the black soldiers and things were coming home, the black soldiers were housed in the Melton Quonset huts that was on Love Field property. See, that used to be the Army owned that property. That was the Army base over there. Where Love Field is was the Army base.
So that's how they acquired the land.
That's how they got the land. The government owned the land. Those were Melton Quonset huts over there for the blacks to live in, but the white soldiers lived in wooden barracks over there. See, it was barracks. It was wooden barracks and it was metal barracks.
Now, behind Love Field, was the lake still there then, or they just put that lake in?
The lake was there, but it wasn't as as big and like that.
Yeah,
But the
it
lake
wasn't
was
big.
there. But
Okay.
all the way back to Bachman were those huts where the soldiers lived.
Yeah, okay.
That's where the soldiers lived.
In huts.
In huts, in the huts back there, and the white soldiers lived in them too. But there's what they call theirs barracks, and they call the black ones huts.
Huts, of course. Okay.
So when the black soldiers started wanting to move out, the whites who were living in those frame homes right there, they start selling those homes to the black soldiers under the GI Bill. That's how all that got started. That's how all those black people were there. Those were black homeowners.
Wait, you're taking me much too fast here, because I am now I can see why you're so mad about this.
Yeah.
I can see why you're so vocal about it. And you got people stirred up right now, because now they're saying Betty is right. They were not renters.
No, they owned those homes. My brother-in-law, Emory Bowens, and my sister lived right there. The girl who was Desiree Moore, who was the first black model with Kim Dawson, her family, them lived there. All of us, because we all went to Booker T. Washington High School together.
Right,
those were black single family homes that they owned.
It's a big controversy today because, number one, what you're telling us, they're telling us a bunch of lies again.
Well, these new young people.
Young people.
But see, the new young people, they moved in across Roper. They don't know nothing about when black people wasn't across Roper. See, they think, bless their heart, they think the black people always over there. Now, Miss Blair and them integrated Robin Road and that side of Roper. Miss Blair, W.A. Blair and them, that's who bought up and started and integrate that whole section over there. They were the first black families to move over there. Yeah, and all of them moved over there behind Miss Blair and them integrating that area. And I'm telling you what I know, I ain't telling you what I heard.
Wow.
A.W. Blair and Miss Blair.
And they were real estate people.
Yes, and they saw the vision, and they bought, and they integrated, and they told everybody else, y'all come on. And as soon as they came in, the white folks started putting their houses up for sale. Yeah, wasn't no black people over there. And over there on Stiegel, where my family finally ended up being, those are white people.
Let that stay up for a minute for me, please. The Hillard Golf Course was dedicated in 1950 by the Dallas Negro Golf Association as the nation's first Negro golf course.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1954, the city of Dallas took the land back along with most of the west and southwest portion of Elm Thicket for Love Field expansion.
Yes, ma'am, they did.
Now tell me about that.
Well, they took it and they eminent domain, they just took it. And all those people, they bought them out. Most of the people moved. The people who lived there, they bought. Now, some of them went to Singing Hills. Some of them went further north. But a lot of them moved to Singing Hills back then.
Okay.
When they first started integrating Singing Hills.
I mean, that's all the way
but they were trying to find something comparable to what they had.
Yeah. Okay.
And see, and a lot of them, some came to Arlington Park where my dad and them went. Yeah. We went to Arlington Park. See, that was before Hampton Park started. They went, because it was 1949. We went to Arlington Park. A lot of them came to Arlington Park also. Then when Hampton Park started, then a lot of them went to Hampton Park. But they took it, they took that land, and all those people had to move. In fact, when my sisters, they bought their land, and my sister's husband worked for American Airlines, but they went and bought a house over on Spence Street. So they were just kind of looking for somewhere comparable and single family homes in a nice neighborhood.
But you only had one black school at that time.
You think we didn't all ride the same bus to go to that one school? We all went to that same school.
The same bus.
We had school buses that picked us up from every neighborhood and brought us to those schools. Yeah, and the kids from Carrollton came all the way.
So you had to get up about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and put your child on a bus to go to that one black school.
Yes, ma'am. Uncle Taft was the bus driver.
Uncle Taft.
Uncle Taft was the bus driver. He would go through Eagle Ford. He would start out in Carrollton, go through Eagle Ford, come on through Arlington Park, and come on through North Park and pick us all up. Yeah.
I am so happy we're recording this so that you can refer to it at any time. It's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on the Good News Network. This will be with Don Willis at Power Play. So you can get this history. It is so important. We can't continue to live with these naysayers that don't know what they're talking about.
And see, I don't. And when they first called me about the North Park thing, and I tried to tell the young people who tried to talk to me, and I didn't want to be ugly because I wanted to tell this young man, I won't tell him so bad. The only reason you there is because you in your grandparents' house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't know the history. I understand about you being feeling like you feel and blah 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 blah, but you don't know the history. You don't know how they got there. There's how they got there, and said that was a progression of how they got there. And where you live is not Elm Thicket. You not in Elm Thicket.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're bringing up a big subject here, that crucial race theory, because we don't want this in the history books, because there are those people that don't want the world to know what the real story is or what the real truth is.
And the reason they named it North Park is because they didn't want to be, these people over here never wanted to be part of Elm Thicket. They didn't want, we not Elm Thicket, we North Park.
So we're going to rename it.
Exactly. And the sophisticated blacks went along with the North Park. Yeah, I just tell it like it is.
Oh, yeah, you do.
They didn't want to be a part of Elm Thicket either, because by that time, Elm Thicket, they were frame homes and they had kind of worn, so they were over there in the brick, and they were over there in the brick homes and everything. So they kind of didn't want to be over here. But see, even those people didn't realize all those businesses and things that used to be up there, black businesses, owned and operated by black people, laundries, cleaners, bookstores, you name it, and they had it. Grocery stores, all of that was there.
Your uncle told me, Mr. Alto, his last couple of years, I would visit him. He said there was a lot of alteration people that sold.
Oh yeah.
And because he had his uniforms for the funeral home done a certain way with certain things on them. And
you know how particular he was about.
Oh, yes. It was his cufflinks, everything had to be in proper order. The starched collars on everything. But he bought the people, he said one time there was a Fannie Lou dress shop somewhere.
They had a lot of really good tailors. They were tailors. All over on Holland and Thomas, they tailor shops.
Yep.
And they did all of that. Yeah, they did.
So they had their clothes made and they took them to the tailors,
because back then you could not try on, black people couldn't try on clothes at the major department stores. So people would rather go and have their clothes tailored and made rather than put up with that mess going downtown and couldn't try on clothes. See, it was the reason why they wanted to do that.
Woo! An hour is not long enough. All right, we sent out a question bank. We will take some of the questions. I'm going to take a couple of them. Betty is going to come back. People want to know, is the master plan for the Fair Park area to bring in restaurants, expensive homes, parks, or develop a community for the all? So the question is from Miss Kimberly Johnson, 39 years old, in Dallas, Texas. Thank you, Miss Kimberly. We're going to ask Miss Betty, what does she think? What is
the Fair Park master plan?
Yes, ma'am.
Is to move the handful of Negroes that's still in Fair Park out. Because number one, if you notice, they have adopted the name Fair Park.
Yes.
That's not Fair Park. That's South Dallas. So they've already changed the name to the Fair Park plan.
You are absolutely right.
Well, they've already named it. So they've already renamed it to get rid of everybody. So what they've done is they've changed the name already. So it won't be no black people in the Fair Park area in the next 10, 15 years. But now, out of all fairness, the plan is a good plan because we destroyed that community during the crack epidemic.
Yeah, we did.
And
We did.
all the professional black people and everybody who
We
could have
moved out of
changed
there. Yeah.
things, we all ran and left that neighborhood alone.
That's right.
Just a few people have stayed there to sustain what they got. So it's our fault that we didn't fight back, that we did not nurture our own community.
That's
So
right.
now what they've done is found a good opportunity to change the whole place, rename it, rebrand it, and sell it. So there's nothing to say that black people can't be a part of the Fair Park plan.
It's a good plan.
It's a good plan, but you got to stay there and be a part of the plan. We ran off and left.
Make it work.
You got to stay there and make it work. We ran off and left our own community.
Let's take question number 2. People want to know, why is the crime still high in Dallas with a new police chief and the media is quiet about it? A couple of statistics here. 82.91%, higher than the national rate, and 59.43%, higher than the Texas rate. What do you think?
The crime is so high in Dallas, Texas, because not one leader has stood up and said, this has got to stop. Nobody since Al Gore has tried to sanction these rappers. Hip hop started out as a clean, fun music.
Yes.
It is now
it's massive.
Rap and kill. Everything on there, on these radio stations and on these streaming services, is talking about killing. Yeah. So and there's nothing
about black women,
yes, and killing. So there's nothing the police can do when you have 14-year-old children listening at this particular genre of music, and their parents not turning it off and not doing anything. They absolutely believe that having a gun is just like having a popsicle.
And we're paying the cost for that.
And we are paying the cost for it. If you go right down the street, the medical examiner has had to add another part to their building. They have portable morgues and refrigerated trucks outside. That's not from COVID. That's from gunshot victims.
What?
You hear what I'm telling you? Dallas, Texas, you in a crisis. And can't nobody stop it but the parents of these children.
Yes, I agree.
It's not enough police. You can't do. No. The police can't do nothing about it.
And the police has too much to do already.
The police can't stop it. The parents know this is going on. Where a 14-year-old get a gun?
Yeah, it's in your home.
It's a shame.
We have a third question here from Mr. Joseph Allen, 42 years old from Dallas. The Hispanic population in Dallas is at 42%, and the city of Dallas is and the city of Houston is at 44%, with African American mayors at this time. Will we see a shift to Hispanic mayors maybe in the next 2 years or within 6 years? What do you think, Ben?
No, not in the next 2. Well, here's the problem with those. The Census Bureau counts everybody.
Right.
The only way you can vote in the state of Texas is be a legal resident. So, and I have tried to tell my Hispanic friends, why do y'all keep using these inflated numbers when you know of this 42% that you count because the Census Bureau counted it, and it make you feel good? Ain't with 10% of those folks registered to vote because they're not legal residents.
They're not legal.
So that's why you don't see a shift in anything, because they are not legal citizens and they can't vote. You think all this black people want to call it vote suppression, but all these new voter laws and things, they not for no black people, because they know we're not going to go vote no way. And then we do go, we're going to go vote for the Democrat. This is targeting the Hispanics. They want to make sure that every Hispanic that vote is a legal resident. That's for Hispanics. That ain't for no black people. They ain't trying to keep no black people from vote. They know you ain't gonna go vote.
That's an eye opener, right?
Yeah, they got to drag you out of the house and make you go vote. But they're trying to keep the Hispanics from voting.
Laughing, but that is just one.
It's the truth.
Shame. Since
it's the truth.
Told me I could cuss on this show.
But it's just the truth.
A shame.
The Hispanics not going. They can't do anything because they're not legal citizens. And but they have the wealth.
We still want them here. They have the wealth.
Absolutely. They have the wealth.
They're buying houses.
If they were not here, it wouldn't be not one hamburger. It wouldn't be nothing done if they were not here.
Okay. All right, we're moving Betty to another whole realm of
Oh
understanding right
Lord.
now. Who's that right there, Betty?
The best city manager we
The
ever had
best
in
city
our life, John
manager,
Ware.
John
Lord
Ware.
have mercy, I miss him every day.
Do you really?
Oh yes, yes,
Oh,
yes. And when that sanitation crisis thing came up, I remember when they didn't pick my trash up, Mr. Ware came after himself
John
and
Ware
came to the house and looked on the street
to
and
see
saw
it.
that the trash had not been picked up and put trash in the trunk of his car.
What?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Now that's a politician for you. That's a real
Exactly, but he
anybody
did it.
comes out into the
And
neighborhood.
and did what? But he did. And I never said, yeah, I didn't. That's when I found out he drove an old beat up Taurus.
Yes.
I didn't know what kind of car he drove. When I saw that car, I said, "That's your car?" Yes, ma'am.
His name was John Ware. Who is this? Oh my goodness,
Mr.
that's
Finch,
Fred Finch. That's one
great
of our
man,
civil rights attorneys right there.
great man. Fought so many battles. He integrated over on the part of right over off of Hatcher Street back there. His wife, they integrated that street. Can't think of the name of the street.
It was Hatcher.
That little the neighborhood right back there.
Street, yes.
They were some of the first blacks to move in over there. That's when they were bumming those black people for moving in that neighborhood.
Mr. Finch,
Mr. Finch and his family moved there.
That is Molly Belt's father. Oh my goodness.
Oh, Miss Craft
is an icon.
Yeah, Miss Craft.
Oh, what do you?
She integrated State Fair. And
Man.
Mr. Lipscomb. Oh, I miss him too. We had the late night three-way. When they did the three-way, we had those late night calls, and we would kill the ears of the world. But
oh my goodness,
we got together and we discussed it.
Okay, that's right.
And
you
that's
got
how
together.
we
and you weren't
knew.
even a politician then. It was
I was just
and Diane Ragsdale and a couple
they
of other
were
people.
elected, but we talked at night about what action to take, and we threw it around. And you know, we did a concerted effort to serve the people. See, I miss all of that.
Well, who are we serving now? What is the problem now? We can't get together. Oh my goodness, there is
Mr. Black.
Newton. Back to media. We love our black media people.
And he started out, Mr. Black, that paper was folded in his pocket. He would hand you that paper out of his pocket when he started eating like new. He started that paper, it was in his pocket. He would walk. Mr. Black didn't have no car. Mr. Black didn't have no car to Walter Wilson bought him a car.
Walter Wilson, that was one of the funeral
That's
directors.
Right. Walter Wilson gave Mr. Black one of his old cars.
Oh, that's a good friend of ours there.
Miss Gillum.
Gillum.
Stayed on that school board and made some progress.
And that's what it's great. Thank you for on the school board. She was a member of the school board. She made things happen.
Oh, yeah. And it was all about the people. See, nowadays, I don't understand how all these people have forgot the people. But those people served the people.
Yeah.
They knew who they were there to serve.
Yeah.
Just like me. If I had stayed in this position and didn't do nothing, why?
But you were so vocal, Betty. You would tell people off. You would put people
I
out.
would.
You got loud, and you were so sincere because we still respected what you did. We understood it. But why did
because I did get ignorant a lot of times.
But why did you have to get to that ignorant point?
Because they wouldn't listen to the South part. See, that's what they said at DFW, some of those Fort Worth elites. They said that I didn't have any board decorum. And I looked around and said, well, she just doesn't have any board decorum. I damn sure don't.
Board decorum.
But I see.
But you see what you did now, and everybody's praising you for what you did now, because we don't have what we had at that particular time.
And the 26-year contract that had been in place.
The 26-year contract you're talking about.
Concession contract had been in place. Yeah. They didn't nobody care about that being in place. Well, I did. And they tell me, well, I break it up. Break it up. Give it to everybody. Yeah. And we did.
And you did.
Anyway, we let's go on with that. But see, people forgot who they serve.
Sure. We have a question. We have another question here, so we're gonna listen to that question. Okay. Perfect. Lester Melnick's. Did black people go to those stores? That's Lester Melnick's. And so you could not even go in those stores.
You could go in, but you couldn't try on anything.
You could go in, but you couldn't try
on the clothes.
So why would you go in?
Well, you had to buy it.
Oh, you had to buy it, and then you could...
And take it on out and go on back to business.
Could you take it, bring it back? If it didn't fit?
Yeah, but I'm sure how Neiman's was really cute. They sent Neiman sent the clothes to your house. Oh yeah, Neiman's was sending the
For those
clothes.
elite blacks
Yeah,
that
they were sent. Yeah, because they sent the clothes to the house, and we could try them on and then send them back. But they those other two stores they didn't send them to the house. But Neiman was slick. They were sending the clothes to the house. Exactly.
yeah, oh, they wouldn't see black people in the stores.
Right.
When did that end? I mean, when we had the money. Here's the thing that we don't think there was money in the black community.
Oh,
There was
absolutely.
money in the
Because they
black
were sending the
community.
clothes to the house. You bought them.
So when they sent them to your house, you already had paid for it.
No, you send them and try them on. If you
Okay.
want them, then you pay for them and you send back what you didn't want.
But at
They
least they got the
trusted you.
money.
Yeah, they trusted you. Yeah.
They just didn't want you to be seen.
Like in Volks Brothers, we could go in. Now, one thing you could do, you could use the X-ray machine. They had an X-ray machine where you to do your size.
Yes.
You would put your foot in the X-ray machine. The X-ray machine would see how the shoe is fitting you.
Betty, hold on. So I couldn't walk in and say I'm a size 10.
Now you could walk in and you could see a shoe that you wanted.
Okay.
And then they would get the shoe, and then you could put your foot in the machine, and the machine would tell them what size shoe you need, and then they would give you the shoe.
Oh.
Yeah. Volks. Yeah, it was Volks Brothers at first. Then it became Cobra Volks.
Woo! Yeah, this is a hot show, a hot topic show, and I am never at a loss for words. But this woman,
Because you couldn't try on clothes and Cobra Volks either.
You had to try. You had to.
But later on, when after they integrated, I don't remember when. I guess when the schools integrated.
Mm-hmm. They integrated
is when we started going into stores. But now it's interesting. Uncle Alto used to go in James K. Wilson. They wouldn't say nothing to him. They would fit him and do all kinds of stuff.
Titus and some of the department.
I remember going to Titus, yeah, and shopping. Okay. And it was A. Harris. And then it was A. Harris and then Sanger Brothers. Then it merged. See, it was A. Harris and then it was Sanger Brothers. And Sanger Brothers and A. Harris merged. Mm-hmm. And then Folders bought them out.
My guest has been Betty Culbreath, who's enlightening us and giving us a lot of the truths about who we are and why. Basically, she's telling us why there is such a fight against the critical race theory, why there's such a fight against putting certain books in certain schools. But here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Write your own story. And you can put it online. The one tool that we have now that God has really blessed us with, you can put that on the internet. And we're going to ask you to share this story, share this woman's story. She's Betty Culbreath. Everybody knows who she is. So what's on your radar right now? Probably got, how many minutes do I have, Spider? He keeps telling me I got about 3 minutes. Okay. What is on your radar right now?
Nothing but drive back to my house and eat my food. Well, I'm still actively serving on the Dallas Housing Authority board.
You are?
Yeah. Mayor Johnson appointed me to that board.
Are we going to get some new housing for low income, or they're going to remove them? What are they going to do?
All in that one breath. You won't know. Well,
I want you to come back.
Well, what we are aggressively trying to do is to add to our housing stock. But in the meantime, we are trying to improve some of our older housing stock. Some of it's going to have to come down. But everything that we take down, we're going to replace. We're not going to do like they did in the old time when they would demolish 200 some units and not bring them back on. Right. But we don't have that much money available for new housing, for public housing. Somehow or other, these new folk in Washington thinks that the voucher system is better than public housing. But I know it's not, because everybody can't get a house that's got a voucher. Because that's left up to a landlord's discretion as to whether he want to rent to you. You can put any laws on the book you want to. But if I own something and you trying to get it, there are ways around all of that. So I just think that public housing is better because it gives the person a level playing field.
Okay. And public housing in some of the more expensive areas too. Is that still a part of the plan?
That's still a part of the plan. But what hurts us there is that the land costs are so high. See, they can price you out because we have X number of dollars to spend. Okay. We not like private developers where he can spend much as he want to spend, but we are capped at how much money we can spend to develop a property. Okay. And the land acquisition is part of that. But we have like 90 some odd acres over off of Bath Street
Now, when
that
you
we
said
can
we,
develop.
is that county or the city?
No, Dallas Housing Authority
Dallas
it
Housing
is a
Authority.
separate entity,
Okay.
but the mayor appoints the board. But it is a separate governmental entity. But the state passed a law that the mayor of the largest city in the in the county appoints the housing authority board. So it is under Mayor Johnson's authority to appoint the housing authority board, but the housing authority operates independently of the city or the county.
Well, you just made me, since I've got just another, I'm going over time here, but all these homes we're building in the city, especially the southern sector, $300,000, $400,000 homes. Is that gentrification or is that progress?
It's progress for people who can pay that money.
That's true. That's true. But where is the low income? Where are the poor people going?
They don't have nowhere to go.
They don't have nowhere to go.
The truth of the matter is they don't have nowhere to go. But remember, all those vacant lots had belonged to poor people.
Yeah. Go get
and
those.
they lost them, or their children didn't pay the taxes. That's right. And the children ran on to DeSoto and Cedar Hill and built and left their people's property over there.
Yeah, that's right.
So I can't blame you. It's hard, but that's what happened. That's the truth.
Well, that's the truth.
Just like the bottom.
Yeah,
Black people own the bottom, but they don't anymore.
No, we got another question. We're taking questions, and stay with us. Don't go away. Okay.
Is it true that it was the largest project that wasn't a high rise in the nation at one time?
Yeah, that's true. Because over there we had three different. We had the black, the Hispanic, and the white. See, people don't understand that. In West Dallas, there was black, Hispanic, and white.
All in West Dallas.
Right.
In the and
project. Only a street separated them. They were segregated. Elmer Scott, George Loving, and what was the other one? Anyway, but true. They were only 2 stories. Now they change. Well, see, that's because now it's being redeveloped. It is now Dallas West, because the people who are redevelopment don't want West Dallas. They want Dallas West. Because it sounds more. It sounds more sophisticated.
Betty's answering questions. We still have questions coming in, and if you did not hear the question, can they hear the question? The question is about his aunt that lived in West Dallas, and she mentioned that the high rise went up how many stories?
They only went up. They only went up 2, and the tallest one was 8 stories.
Here in Dallas? Was West Dallas project.
Right?
But then and I get this all the time from Burl Jernigan, because Burl was raised in the projects.
Yep.
And I want to get the 2 of you back, because I seriously need to get this history on the books. When I say on the books, we have the audiences that listen to us, but we need to have you guys come and tell us the real truth about it, which is what you've done today. Betty, Culbreath,
like amazing. The project was not like the project. The project then, the project now, 2 different projects. So these projects graduated kids who went on to be police officers, doctors, lawyers, and all that. Those projects. These projects, that's not what's happening in the project now. Dr. Pinkston.
Dr. Pinkston.
They had Pinkston Clinic. Pinkston Clinic was a medical facility. Medical building. Dr. Pinkston was medical doctor.
The question is Pinkston High School, was Pinkston High School named after a black man?
Yes, Dr.
Now,
Pinkston.
there was a Pinkston funeral home over
Relatives. That was Dr. Pinkston's sister that
ran.
That owned that funeral home.
So you should be proud of your history.
Absolutely.
I don't like Black History Month. I say that publicly every year, because every day is Black History. And we should talk about the real history of Dallas, and talk to somebody else. Talk to somebody else, a relative in your family. Get that history. Sit down and record it. We have the phones now, so there's no excuse. You can record it and ask Mama and them about these times, because it is so important. Oh, I gotta go. But you know what? You really are the greatest audience in the world. Thank you, Betty Culbreath.
Thank you for having me.
Woo, Daddy, that was
This is good.
powerful.
Good.